This talk is on 3 of the most annoying myths about meditation. You can also call it what meditation is not. And these are things that I've heard from people over the years. They're talking about getting into meditation, they're trying meditation, and how they view meditation. I think it's really important to I really want to pad the foundation here with a clear understanding of like, what are you getting yourselves into? What should you expect? And we got to dispel some myths here. So the first one is that a lot of people say this: I'm not doing it right. I'm not ready. I'm not meditating right. Or I can't do it. My mind is too busy. I think too much. Have either of you ever felt this sense or thought that before? Yeah. And that's okay. And the truth is that while the myth might be that meditation is about quieting the mind or being peaceful or coming to a state of deep bliss, mindfulness meditation is actually not really about that. That's possible, and we can create more peace and more quiet in our minds as we continue to practice. But if we're expecting our minds to just be quiet with a little bit of meditation, we tend to shoot ourselves in the foot. Because as a teacher of mine, Jack Kornfield, will say, the mind is designed to think. Like the saliva gland excretes saliva, the mind excretes thoughts. We think. The mind be thinking. That's just how it is. We can't stop that. And so when we show up to meditation with the expectation that we're going to stop thinking, we're actually bringing in the judgment, we're bringing in the expectation, we're bringing in the control and the criticism that we're actually trying to amend through spacious, mindful awareness. What we're really trying to do, and to add on to that, we actually create more of what we don't want. So what we resist tends to persist. So if we're walking into meditation with the expectation that my mind's going to be quiet, and if I'm continuing to think I'm not doing it wrong, we're just creating more of that resistant energy that's going to make us struggle more and more with our thoughts, struggle more and more with our mind. We're just bringing struggle into this practice. How it's more helpful to look at, and what I want to invite you to really just sit with and approach these practices with, is to welcome everything, including thought, especially thought, and not to push it away or to repress or to suppress, which we're very good at as Americans and Westerners and humans these days, living in an increasingly complex world. Rather, what we're trying to do is change our relationship to thoughts, change our relationship to emotions, change our relationship to our body through directly experiencing thoughts, emotions, the stories that go through our mind, the beliefs, pain, discomfort. We're not trying to push any of it away. We're trying to really welcome it with this spacious, gentle, kind, non-judgmental awareness. I'm going to say these words over and over and over again because these are the qualitative aspects of what we're learning here as meditation and mindfulness grows within us. Is how can I look at my thoughts not with this, oh my God, I'm just exhausted with all this thinking and I don't want to think, I don't want to think, I don't want to think, and it just creates more thinking. Is how do I look at my thoughts without holding on to them, without grabbing onto them, neutralizing the charge that we have in relationship typically to our thinking mind. So there's a couple great analogies which I think can really paint a picture of this and what we're aiming for here. One is like clouds passing in the sky. You think about the mindfulness, the attention, the spacious awareness that we're trying to cultivate is the blue sky. Thoughts pass through like clouds. What we're aiming to do is let the clouds pass, just as they do. Even the stormy ones, which are really intense, and there's lightning and there's thunder. There was some last night. I don't know if either of you saw that. It's really cool. we let those pass too. And so even when we have really intense moments of experience, whether it's through thinking or through emotion, we're learning to let that come and let that go. And that's where we actually get to more of the peace that we're wanting without expecting it in every moment. Mindfulness and the meditation that we're learning here is absolutely going to make you more peaceful. It's absolutely going to help you feel more grounded. It's absolutely going to help you live more intentionally, more appreciatively. But it's also going to welcome, in a very resilient sense, a more full spectrum of the human experience. And so we're really just learning and nourishing this kindness of attention and changing our relationship to thinking and to emotions that's not so averse and repressive, which really, keeps us stuck. This is an opportunity to free ourselves as we radically change our relationship to our mind and to our inner experience and also to our outer experience. Another really great analogy is, a colleague of mine shared this. It's like sitting in a train station. You're just sitting there and you're kind of watching trains come and go. You think about how often a very thought-provoking thought comes up and we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go on that one. And we don't even know until we're 4 towns away or 4 countries away, having jumped on that train, and we're like, oh shit, I'm actually supposed to stay at the station. And how often do we get very carried away from present moment awareness, from the things that we really want to pay attention to, the loved ones in front of us, what we're creating, what we want to, appreciating the sunshine. We get very carried away by thoughts when we jump on the train and we get off far, far away when we finally realize, we wake up to the fact that we've gotten pulled away. And so we're really learning to kind of stay at the train station and just watch. And it's that spaciousness, it's in that moment of not engaging just out of conditioning, out of habit. That's the spaciousness. That's really the peace that we're aiming for. That's the kind of self-awareness and really self-control that lends to these feelings of feeling grounded and rooted in yourself, rooted in the present moment. And some moments are going to be stormier than others. Some trains are going to be harder not to get on, and that's okay. We're going to learn how to work with all of that. So if we're expecting our mind to just go quiet and we're not getting that, we're going to be frustrated. But if you can approach this with the understanding that you're actually going to learn to be with even the loudest of minds, you will start to reap the benefits a lot quicker and connect with the resiliency that these practices can afford and offer you without so much of a struggle. The second myth is that you need a lot of time to meditate. A lot of people say, oh, I don't have time. I'm too busy. And well, there are some practices out there. There's a really popular one called Vipassana. Vipassana is actually used in many different forms, but there's one taught by a Burmese monk that a lot of people go on these 10-day retreats, and he's very strict. He's like, you got to do 2 hours a day and you cannot move. And for some people, that level of discipline is awesome and it works really well. And it's not the only way, and it's not absolutely necessary. You don't need to spend 2 hours a day. You don't even need to spend 20 minutes a day of meditation. We live in such a culture that is so obsessed with more is better. And so something I want you to just be mindful of as we're, as you're integrating some of these practices into your daily life is quality over quantity. You don't need to spend 2 hours a day meditating to feel the benefits. Again, you don't need to spend 20. I won't say that it doesn't help to spend a little bit more time with it, and quantity does matter. And I think that's something that comes more naturally as you start to appreciate the benefits. But especially as you're starting, really focus on quality, because 3 to 5 minutes of intentional meditation a day, intentional mindfulness a day, can go a long way. Can have remarkable effects on your life. So if there's a sense of I don't have enough time, we have to just name kind of what the narrative is about how much time we really do have and how much time do you really need for this to support you. And we want to, as we work through this course, I really want to invite you to just, find something that's healthy and accessible, these small steps that are going to have a big impact. And also, maybe as we start to kind of grow and you start to feel into it, and maybe you're like, I can see this working, then we kind of challenge our growth edge. We might chuck on a minute here and there, or like add an extra day, So we kind of toe this line. I'll talk a lot about the middle way in this course of, neither extreme is helpful. Neither doing 3 hours a day diligently and forcefully, nor choosing not to meditate at all is really going to support your best life. Finding something that feels accessible and balanced is really what is going to offer you the spaciousness, this gentleness of awareness. We want to relate to our practice. This is an important piece. We want to relate to our practice and these practices in the same way that we're practicing. So as we're cultivating, non-judgment and kindness and welcoming attention to our inner experience, we also want to make sure that we're applying that to the way that we're meditating. Because so many people get stuck in the self-critical loop of, well, I'm meditating to work on my self-criticism, but I'm so self-critical about my meditation and I'm never doing enough. And it's just like really finding this gentle space and trusting that however much you're doing is enough. Whatever you're doing is enough. Really invite you to just trust the process here. There's no wrong way to do this. Just being here and showing up, you are impacting yourself positively. Finally, the last myth is that there is one meditation. There's just one meditation. It's a singular thing. And that can be further from the truth. There are actually a large catalog of tools and techniques and little adjustments. And as I stated before, I want to introduce you to a couple core ones. And this is absolutely not a one-size-fits-all space. This is, again, one that I really want to offer you the permission to, authentically find what works for you and leave behind what does not. And your Sunny specific concoction of practices is going to look so different than Joel's. It's going to look so different than mine. And it's not about what the person next to you is doing, or even, that I say that I really like this practice and this really works for me. It's like, no, it's about experientially what works for you and trying on different things and exploring kind of the survey, the buffet of options here that I'll offer you, and saying, I think this is a really nice core practice, and I really like this kind of like accoutrement that I'm going to add, because this really helps me cultivate what we're trying to cultivate here, and it really impacts me in the way that I want to be impacted. So I really invite you to, just remain curious and open and trust in yourself as we run this experiment to find what works for you, and ask questions and try on things, and don't be afraid to leave things behind if they don't work. I will never say that this is the way you got to do it. If you don't do it, it's not going to work. You are the expert on yourself, and what these series of practices are going to help you do, and amongst many benefits, is really just like begin to more deeply trust that in yourself. Trust your own ability to choose for yourself. I want to end this just by clearly defining a difference between mindfulness and meditation. And I kind of use them interchangeably, because I think, um, well, I'll explain why in a second. Um, Mindfulness, I really like a definition by John Kabat-Zinn, who designed the mindfulness-based stress reduction program. I think he's one of the first people to really bring a like scientific kind of Western paradigm to integrate all of this, because all of this is really rooted in Buddhist tradition, things that, you know, they've been meditating in Thailand and Tibet and India for over 2,000 years now. And then they brought it over in the 70s to America. And now we just have all these incredible, brilliant minds and the science to help support and grow and understand it better. And I really appreciate his very grounded definition of mindfulness. And it's paying attention on purpose, non-judgmentally, to the present moment. Paying attention, there's purpose, there's intention. So there's attention and intention. The intention is the quality, is the saying, hey, I'm going to pay attention. How am I going to pay attention? Without judgment. Where and to what am I going to pay attention to? The present moment, the experiences that I'm experiencing. And there's a lot going on in the present moment. So I'm going to guide you to different places. You can listen to sounds, pay attention to your breath, pay attention to sensations in your body, the comfort, the discomfort. You can pay attention to my voice. All of this is mindfulness, choosing where to place your attention purposely, intentionally, dropping the judgment, dropping the inclination to say good, bad, right, wrong, and doing so here and now in the present moment. So you can apply that in anything and everything. Meditation, I like to think of as just a more formal practice of mindfulness. It's to say, hey, for the next few minutes, I'm going to either sit or stand or walk or do the dishes mindfully. This is my practice. I'm cultivating these qualities of mind. We're going to practice mindfulness. We're going to practice meditation formally. I'm going to invite you to practice some meditation formally in your daily lives at some point, if possible, every day. But more importantly is, how does the mindfulness, how do these qualities of mind and heart and attention spill out quite naturally and organically into the way that we do anything and everything? You know, wouldn't it be nice to just be more present with our loved ones, to be less critical of ourselves? These things, when we do the formal practice of meditation, they grow very naturally and become more of our baseline. But there is an importance to the consistency and the commitment of the formal practice to say, hey, I'm gonna practice shooting free throws right now, so that when I get to game time, it just happens naturally. If we don't practice with that intention, it can be very difficult for it to show up in the moments that matter most for us. So you can kind of think fluidly about that. And again, I'll introduce a lot of different ways to apply this. And ultimately, this is all invitational. I keep using this word invitation because none of this is I say and you should. No. None of that energy is present here. You get to make this what you want to make it. And you will get out of it what you put into it. Really what you give to yourself. This is an investment in yourself and in your loved ones, in your mind and your heart and your body. So if you breathe life into it, if you breathe curiosity into it, you absolutely will feel more of the peace of mind, the groundedness, the intention that you're both looking to cultivate.